All right, so the next spotlight is on turf toe. Turf toe refers to an injury to this joint, the first metatarsophalangeal joint, which we call the first MTP. This is where the proximal phalanx hyperextends onto this metatarsal. And this is because of when we run, we propel off, all of our weight goes through our great toe. And we have to have a good amount of hyperextension to be able to propel off, especially when we're running and landing and then jumping again. So there's a lot of pressure here on this joint. And we've always called it turf toe in the past, and it just refers to like a capsulitis, where basically the capsule in the area is stretched out. And so we usually just treat it with tape and then putting steel insoles. Problem with that is that that's not the only structure there, so that's not the only injury that occurs. So there was a lot of career-ending injuries that happen. And a mentor of mine that I worked with was the famous surgeon who has saved a lot of careers, and he explained there's more structures there we need to be worried about. So that's what I'm going to discuss. So there's two things here with injuries. You could either be chronic and repetitive or be acute. So chronic and repetitive is just all these injuries come from wearing shoes that aren't that supportive. Because the more flexible they are and the more flexible the sole is, it allows us more hyperextension, which just allows us to propel more and get faster or jump higher. So people like those types of shoes. And then the turf has gotten softer but over the years, but it used to be really hard and caused a lot of these injuries too. So the chronic would be overuse, constantly being able to hyperextend over time. It basically causes injury to that tendon. So tendon injuries will first get inflamed, and then if we don't intervene on them, they'll start to break down and degenerate, and that's called tendinosis. So we just say tendinopathy in general because we don't know what stage of the healing process it's in. So either tendinopathy or this capsule, which is like that balloon-like structure that holds in all the synovial fluid, that also gets stretched out. So those are chronic things, and neither one of those structures have good blood supplies and they don't heal well. So when we intervene on those, you have to shut someone down completely and then figure out what biomechanical things we could fix, like stretching out the gastroc, taking pressure off that joint, putting in steel insoles, and then slowly returning them back to see if they can stand that. The other aspect of this is acute, and it's a big, like, so if someone lands and they somehow get tackled from behind and this just really hyperextends, the tendon can actually pull off what's called the volar plate, which is a piece of cartilage here that's really tough that holds that tendon in place. And so it's really strong. It's embedded with these two sesamoid bones, and the tendon is embedded through there. And I'm not going to get too far into that. I'll let you get into that if you get into PT or AT. But just understand there is a piece of cartilage called the volar plate or the plantar plate. And if it ruptures, it needs surgery. So what's important to understand about this injury is that it's hyperextension. What a clinician would do is they would look at how much it hyperextends, and if you feel like a little end feel here, a little snug, or tug, then that means the tendon is intact and it's just stretched out and there's probably capsulitis or tendinopathy. But if you keep pulling and it just keeps going, you're not really feeling any kind of resistance there, it means the tendon is ruptured off the volar plate and it needs surgery. So as long as we're intervening correctly, this injury does fine. But if we ignore that and then just treat it like it's a capsulitis when in fact there was a big rupture there, that's the problem. So turf toe, just understand that it's hyperextension at the MTP joint and that we're worried about acute injuries that is like a rupture of the volar plate versus a chronic repetitive type of thing that usually affects the tendon or the capsule. If you have any questions, please reach out.